All right, welcome. Today we are diving deep into something that's all around us, but we rarely think about the hidden world of maintenance. And really, it all comes down to a simple choice. Are you going to pay a little now, or are you going to pay a whole lot more later? Let's kick things off with a question to get you thinking. So, yeah, what do these three things have in common? I mean, you've got your car, the phone in your pocket, and a massive industrial power plant. Well, the answer is kind of simple and honestly a little scary. Eventually, every single one of them is going to break down. It's just a fundamental truth of, well, everything. And this leads us to what I think is the perfect way to look at maintenance. It's basically healthcare, but for our machines. It's the difference between going for a regular checkup to make sure you're healthy versus a frantic, super expensive trip to the emergency room after something has already gone very, very wrong. Okay, so let's start with the big why. Why does all of this matter so much? Well, the whole point of maintenance, whether you're in a tiny workshop or a gigantic factory, is to push back against that inevitable decay and avoid those incredibly costly standstills. This right here, 100%, this is the goal. It's the North Star. The entire purpose of a good maintenance program is to keep every single piece of equipment running at maximum efficiency, all the time. Because you know what? Anything less than that, that's a ticking time bomb. So to chase that 100% goal, companies pretty much follow one of two very different paths. And this is really the central debate in the world of maintenance. Do you act ahead of time, or do you just wait around to react? So philosophy number one is reactive maintenance. This is the classic, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mindset. Or maybe a more honest way to put it is the wait for it to explode, then scramble approach. Just think about a light bulb in your house, right? You don't replace it on a schedule, you wait for it to burn out, and then you go scrambling to find a new one. That, in a nutshell, is reactive maintenance. And you can totally see the appeal, can't you? There are lower costs right now, you don't need as many staff, and you spend zero time planning. It feels easier. But the downsides, oh man, they are a disaster. Budgets spiral out of control because you have no idea when the next big failure is going to hit. Your expensive equipment doesn't last as long, and you're opening the door to huge safety problems. Not to mention all the collateral damage when one cheap broken part takes down an entire system with it. Now, the polar opposite of all that chaos is planned maintenance. This is the strategic way to do things. It's any activity that you plan out, you document, and you schedule with just one single goal in mind, to stop failure before it even gets a chance to rear its ugly head. This is all about being in control. And the benefits here are huge. This approach in the long run actually reduces your costs, it makes your assets last way longer, and it makes everything much, much safer. But look, it's not a free lunch. It absolutely requires a real investment upfront, in money, in planning, and in people's time. There's even a small risk you could over-maintain something, fixing parts that could have run a little longer. So here's the thing. Planned maintenance isn't just a single idea. It's actually a whole spectrum of different strategies, and each one gets a little more sophisticated. So let's break down what that actually looks like in practice. Okay, so the most common type of planned maintenance is what we call preventative maintenance, or just PM for short. This is your regular scheduled checkup. It's based on either time or usage. So a perfect example is doing maintenance on a forklift after every 150 hours of use. You're not doing it because it's broken, you're doing it because the schedule says it's time, which prevents a future problem. And this really gets at the incredible scope of what we're talking about. It falls into this huge category called MRO. That's maintenance, repair, and operations. And listen, this isn't just about the giant, flashy machines on the factory floor. It is everything else that keeps the lights on. We're talking HVAC systems, facility lighting, forklifts, hand tools, even things like helmets and safety glasses. It is all one big, interconnected system that needs care. But what if we could get even smarter than just following a calendar? What if, instead of guessing, we could actually listen to the machine and have it tell us when it needs attention? Well, that's exactly where the most advanced strategy comes into play. This is called condition-based monitoring, or CBM. The best way to think about it is like a 24/7 fitness tracker for your most important equipment. It's always on, constantly measuring things like vibration, temperature, or even sounds. The second it detects a tiny, tiny change, a change that signals a problem is just starting to develop, it sends out an alert. This lets a team schedule a repair right before the failure, but not a single moment too soon. It's genius. Okay, So let's pull this all together and just look at the trade-offs. It's pretty clear, right? Reactive seems cheap at first, but you pay for it with chaos and emergencies later. Preventive maintenance smooths things out with a planned investment, but yeah, it takes a lot of labor. And then at the very top, you have condition-based monitoring. It needs a big tech investment and highly skilled people, but it gets you as close as humanly possible to having zero unplanned downtime. Each step up the ladder needs a bigger investment, but it buys you more and more control. But here's the reality check. No matter how incredible your strategy is, whether you're reacting to fires or predicting the future, nothing lasts forever. So what happens when a piece of equipment finally, truly reaches the end of its life? Sometimes things just get damaged so badly they can't be fixed. Or maybe a machine is just so old that you literally can't find spare parts for it anywhere on Earth. When you hit that point, that's it. The equipment has to be taken out of service for good. It has to be decommissioned. And taking a giant machine offline isn't as simple as just pulling the plug. Decommissioning is a really formal, pretty complex process. It means tons of documentation, making sure you're following every single health, safety, and environmental rule, and then finally, managing the safe removal and disposal of the whole thing. It is the final and absolutely crucial step in the life of any piece of equipment. So, as we wrap all this up, I want to leave you with this one last question. Because these principles we've been talking about, being reactive versus being planned, they don't just apply to factories, they apply to everything. So think about it. What in your own life is running on reactive maintenance right now? Is it that weird noise your car keeps making? Is it your own health checkups, the leaky faucet in the kitchen? It's something to think about, right? Are you planning ahead or are you just waiting for things to break?